Hello, I'm Hunsley from Livewire Markets and welcome to The Pitch. Joining us now is Colin Mackay of Cromwell Property Group. Colin, we wanted to highlight an area of your asset class that you think has become a crowded trade, and you've picked the flight to quality. So, firstly, how do you define it? And then secondly, how is Cromwell thinking about it?
Yeah, so flight to quality has certainly been a popular phrase this year, but we think it's been misconstrued as a flight to premium. If you actually look at the data, and the premium segment of the market has actually seen the biggest increase in vacancy rate since the pandemic began. So we do agree that a flight to quality is occurring, but it's occurring across all grades of office, not just the top end of town. And I think if you conflate luxury or price with quality, you're actually ignoring the needs of most occupiers in the market. And that's because most occupiers are after a Toyota. They're not after a Rolls Royce. What they're after is the best quality space in the best location, but within their budget.
Right. Okay, well, let's expand on that then, because I was going to ask a question about the types of things occupiers are now looking for. So if it's not, necessarily a premium location, what are those tenants actually looking for instead?
Well, some requirements have stayed the same, and I think they'll stay the same no matter how space usage evolves. That's things like availability of natural light, accessibility to transport, proximity to amenity. They'll stand the test of time. We have seen other requirements become less important. So a big one historically has been floor plate size. You had to have a certain size floor plate to be considered a premium asset, otherwise you were a lower grade. But as the purpose of office has shifted more towards collaboration, social interaction, incidental interaction, and so having that smaller footplate isn't necessarily a bad thing, and certainly bigger isn't necessarily better in the eyes of occupiers.
Okay, so on that then, why do you think occupiers are looking for these types of things? Is it COVID? Is it costs? I mean, what is supporting that trend towards those kinds of offices, I guess?
It's really, I think they've reevaluated the purpose of the office and what they want to use that space for. So with work from home being more prevalent, like I said, the purpose of the office has shifted much more towards that collaboration, the incidental interaction, and kind of developing and building culture in the workplace. And maybe you don't need to house all of your employees on one level. Maybe you have 3 levels, but across a smaller footprint. There's a better buzz about the office. But like I said, some of those things, they're kind of linked to human nature. Like we always want natural sunlight. But on that point, with the use of space evolving, we are seeing greater demand for things like embedded technology. We need more technology in the space so that you can facilitate that flexible way of working. We're also seeing things like greater diversity of spaces in an office space, being able to facilitate focused work as well as that collaborative work. So yeah, constantly evolving.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, so sunlight, accessibility, having technology there. What about ESG credentials? Where do they sit in this pecking order of priorities, if you like?
Look, ESG continues to rise in prominence, and we're seeing it become more important across a range of stakeholders, investors, occupiers, regulators. At the moment, the focus really is on kind of that operational efficiency, water, waste, energy consumption. But we think, as the grid decarbonises over time, what we're actually going to see is more of a focus on embodied carbon emissions. And so what that is it's the emissions produced when you're producing concrete, when you're actually building the buildings, rather than running the lights. And that's something which is actually, it's already a focus in Europe, particularly the Nordic countries, which already have a renewable grid. Denmark, for example, they've got a cap on the embodied carbon emissions that a new development can produce. So I think as that becomes more of a focus here in Australia, we'll actually see the repurposing and revitalisation of existing assets viewed more favourably and maybe as the greener option than building a new shiny building, for example.
Yeah, got it. So let's put this all together then. How does this manifest in terms of the opportunities you pursue? And I'd be keen to hear an example if you've got one.
Well, we continue to view A-grade space quite favourably. It's a bit cheaper than premium, so it appeals to a broader pool of occupiers. But you still typically get that really good access to transport, proximity to amenity, high quality space, natural light, things like that. We're probably avoiding, like I said, kind of the really large floor plate asset, so more from a physical structural layout perspective. And that's because those assets tend to not cater towards smaller occupiers as well as maybe a smaller floor plate office might. And that smaller occupier segment of the market is actually one where we see quite a bit of demand growth.
All right, Colin Mackay of Cromwell Property Group, thank you very much. And if you want to see more episodes of The Pitch, you can go to livewiremarkets.com and our YouTube channel. And thanks for watching.